Hey, Foot Clan. If you listen to the show, you know we are all about equipping you to make great fantasy football decisions each and every week, and we give you the tools that you need. So before we start today's show, I want to remind you about another tool you need to add to the tool belt, and that is the Sleeper Bot app. If you want breaking news faster than anybody else, if you want all the injury news, if you want sleepers, you want hype coming out of these different team organizations, the Sleeper Bot app, it's free. You download it. You've got it on your phone, and it's always letting you know the latest breaking news, so you do not miss out on anything. If you've got the news first, you've got an advantage. So check it out, the SleeperBot app at sleeperbot.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome into the show. The show you know.
Joe.
Andy, Mike, and Jason back
We
once
gotta
more.
go.
Thursday, September 14th, 2017. The Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Today we have a great show for you. Good, quick question. We'll break down a little bit of news. We've got our starts of the week, and we've got some of the Week 2 matchups to get you ready for your fantasy football battles.
We went
Jay
pirate.
Grizz apparently also with us here today.
It'll be very vicious battles. You guys, how you doing today?
Doing pretty well. I'm excited for Thursday night football tonight, and to get once you get that second week of football under your belt, things start to normalize. You can actually try to put together a trend, a little baby trend.
Are you excited for this matchup?
For this matchup tonight,
Texans Bengals.
It's it's sponsored by Ambien.
I mean,
No, they could surprise us.
with
John Ross is going to make his debut tonight.
okay.
You can watch
please
him.
fix Andy Dalton.
It could be a lot worse.
Explain,
It could be a lot
Brooks.
worse, Brooks. Okay,
You have a couple elite superstars out there. You got A.J. Green playing,
Yeah.
all right.
DeAndre Hopkins,
There you
Von
go.
Miller drafted high.
No, it actually will be fun to watch.
I like the positivity, Brooks.
Brooks bringing the positivity.
It'll
Yeah,
be
bringing
fun to
me
see.
up.
He's like, the Jets aren't playing, so
Yeah.
we're okay.
Deshaun Watson. You get to see him start a game. Mike was not a big fan in reviewing the film.
It's gonna be bad. I'm
Okay.
just saying
You're telling me you're not streaming Deshaun Watson?
I am not.
Oh man. There's probably someone out there that wants to do that.
Please don't.
Big Clemson fans.
Please don't.
All right, hey.
For the sake of your fantasy football team, don't do that.
Well, I don't know. The other side of the ball, Andy Dalton, negative points last week.
That's yeah. Deshaun Watson could put up positive points. That's a fair point.
All right, on Twitter, you can find us at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com, and the community is jointhefoot.com. Quick question of the day, guys. Speaking of week 2, doing really well here. What player are you most interested to watch? So Jason just spoke of trends and the ability to see if a player is, I don't know, we always talk about leveling up.
Yeah.
Right? Are there players that leveled up? Alex Smith, did you level up?
I'll hop in then and say who I want to see if this is normal for them, and it's Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook, obviously, he went ham. He was complete workhorse and delivered production on that. But that was at home. That was against the Saints. That game script was perfect for him. So what happens when he goes on the road? Goes and plays a better defense in Pittsburgh, and when your own defense probably isn't able to control the Steelers as well as they were able to control the Saints minus Willie Snead at home, and the game script won't be perfect. If Dalvin Cook explodes this week, then I'm fully bought in, but I'm a little hesitant. Look, I think he's going to be great. He's going to be a workhorse. He'll be valuable for fantasy, but I am not over the moon like some people are on Dalvin Cook yet.
Like the man to your left?
Yes.
I think he's
I'm
unreal.
I'm all in on Cook.
So.
Yeah, and I hope to be, but I'm just not over. I don't want to overdo an at-home performance against the Saints. It could be some of that as to why he had such a good game one.
Future Super Bowl champion, Saints. That didn't work out well in week one. All right,
Or
look,
2 or 3.
your reasoning is the same reasoning that I have to watch Tariq Cohen, because I want to know how involved he really is. This was a plan in week one. This was intentional by the Bears. They hid him at the end of preseason, and then they broke him out as the secret weapon against the Falcons and almost pulled off the upset. 12 targets out of the running back spot. Kevin White goes down. He's out for the year. The beneficiary is it Tariq Cohen every single week. How much do we see of him? How much does it matter if you went out and spent 50, 60% of your fab budget like many people did to pick up Tariq Cohen? So I want to see what we got in him. Very impressive week one.
Yeah, and just a memo here, because our initial rankings came out yesterday, and I actually have Cohen the lowest of the three of us, and people are like, what's going on, Mike? I mean, because I was championing Tariq, and look, I fully believe in him, but I also want to see another week of usage. I think that he was absolutely worth the fab, but before I start giving him, well, this guy's a running back 2 every single week, I just want to see the production again, like Andy. The guy I want to see, Kirk Cousins. In Washington's offense, it was pretty shaky. Been pretty shaky through the preseason, was shaky week one. Now, Kirk Cousins has generally gotten off to a bit of a slow start, especially for fantasy purposes. Now he's got to take on the Rams, who decimated a really bad Colts team. Granted, the matchup was very favorable, but can Kirk Cousins get things corrected? They have so many capable pass catchers and just should be a really explosive, high-powered offense. So I want to see, can Kirk Cousins get it going now instead of having to have this slow ramp-up and then a mid-season dominance by Washington. I want to see it happen right now, Kirk.
All right, as Mike said, the rankings are up on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. I guess. I don't know what's going on. Just imagining the amazing performances I'm going to watch tonight on Thursday Night Football. All right, we're going to wrap some of the news into the actual forecast for week number 2, so I think we're going to kick it off with these matchups.
Fantasy Forecast.
One quick bit of Thursday Night Football updates for you. Gary Barnidge is scheduled to meet with the Texans. He's a free agent. The Texans lost C.J. Fedorowicz for the season, so they need him.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, if you've got just a burner spot and you've got open waivers, you might want to grab him before the game. If he signs, he will be used. I mean, they use the tight end there, and they don't have one.
That's pretty much the case. One other little tease for you. We talked about Tariq Cohen and that offense in Chicago, the limited pass-catching options. I'm going to talk about one of those pass-catching options in the starts of the week, so stay tuned for that. All right, first matchup. Let's talk about the Browns and the Ravens. Ravens are 8-point favorites at home. The game is only a 39-point over-under, and the expectation here for me is a very difficult time for Deshaun Kaiser in this game. So where do you see the storylines for fantasy coming out of this game? Danny Woodhead, he is out for at least 4 weeks. Isaiah Crowell had a ton of work in week 1, but wasn't very efficient with that work. And the breakdown with Weston Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about for the last couple weeks the Ravens' defense and their cornerbacks. They are fully legit. That's why I pumped the brakes on Corey Coleman in this game. I don't expect I think he'll be the number 1 Browns receiver at the end of the game. Well, actually, that might not be true. I think the number 1 wide receiver at the end of the game might be Duke Johnson, if you consider him as such. But what you have with the Baltimore Ravens is you've got a team that's going to be able to shut down the opposition. They want to run the ball, and I think they're going to be in a game script where they will be able to. So I don't expect too much from the passing game. That being said, Joe Flacco plays much better at home. His home road splits, we don't talk about him a lot because Flacco's not fantasy relevant, but his home road splits are up there with the Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger that get all the play. He plays much better for fantasy at home than he does on the road. That's why I'm buying into Jeremy Maclin this week. I think the matchup is fine. I don't expect there to be a ton of passing volume, but against the Browns at home with Flacco, I think he'll be safe this week. We'll talk about him a little later.
In week 1, the Ravens threw the ball under 29% of the time. I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah, it really is.
In today's NFL.
I also don't expect 5 turnovers from Deshaun Kaiser the way that Andy Dalton
You
did
don't?
last week.
I'm shooting for 6.
I mean, it's very possible.
I'd still take the under.
I mean, Kaiser was looking for huge plays. He was second last week in deep passes, in deep pass percentage, and he holds on to the ball. The Ravens are going to get sacks, which sacks will lead to turnovers. I mean, this is
Terrell Suggs 3 sacks.
right. The question for me is really Terrence West. The Cleveland Browns pretty much shut down Le'Veon Bell. Now, that was Le'Veon Bell who had no preseason, no training camp, probably rusty. But was that more on Le'Veon Bell not being ready to play an NFL game, or was that the Browns? Do they have a decent run defense?
And that's what you start to learn right now, because obviously in week 1 they were the best in the league. And does that continue? Is that an outlier? Is that a trend? That's exactly what we're talking about here, where the Ravens last year, Mike brought it up. I mean, last year they passed the ball 65% of the time. In week 1, they didn't even have to pass it 30% of the time. You had 2 running backs with more than 19 carries each. I think West had 19.
Yes.
I think Javorius Allen had
21.
So that's not the norm. But we'll start to learn the norm in this game. As far as fantasy starts, you're starting Isaiah Crowell.
Yes.
The commitment to the run is what matters to me. And take it from a guy who lost David Johnson, and you scan the league and you look around for total carry count, and you look around for all these RBBCs, and every opportunity that I have to pick up a running back, they all look the exact same. It's like,
gross.
Do you want Bilal Powell part of an RBBC backfield? Do you want Adrian Peterson part of an RBBC? Do you want Thomas Rawls part of an RBBC? It doesn't matter who you pick. If you don't have one of those main guys, I was looking at trading for Marshawn Lynch just because 18 carries looked okay.
Right.
So you starting Crowell. You didn't see much from Duke Johnson in week 1. And do you start Buck Allen? Would you flex Buck Allen in this specific matchup, not knowing what his role will be absent of Danny Woodhead?
I would.
Yeah, I would as well.
When you're talking flex, and I mean, maybe you're in that situation where you have to running back to Javorius Allen, and I'm okay with that. They were at least committed to him. I don't expect him to out-rush Terrence West. Terrence West is the much better runner, but
can I put you on the spot with a Buck Allen question?
Sure.
Buck Allen in this matchup or Rob Kelly against the Rams?
Kelly.
Okay. Last one. Buck Allen in this matchup, or would you go with Gio Bernard tonight against Houston?
I think I'd go Buck Allen.
I would go Buck Allen there as well.
Buck Allen or John Brown? Flex question.
In the flex?
Oh, that's
I think
tough.
I'm going to go John Brown.
So that would be a matchup-dependent one. If you're going up against a beast and you want a high upside, I think John Brown has a real shot to have a great game. But if you need a safe floor, if you're the favored guy in your matchup, then I would go Buck Allen. I think he has less of a chance of putting out 0 to 2 fantasy points than John Brown does.
We should circle back to John Brown here in a couple matchups. We're going to talk about the Cardinals. I have some thoughts about some good starts in that game. All right, the Bills travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Bills had a bye in week 1, faced the Jets. And the Panthers are 7-point favorites here, 43-point over-under. Highlights from this game. I think Tyrod Taylor's a very okay start in this game.
Tyrod Taylor is almost always an okay start because of the rushing floor. You're guaranteed 40 rushing yards from Tyrod Taylor, and you can look at that however you want. That's a touchdown if you're in a 4-point. That gives you some leeway. He can throw 2 interceptions because you know that they're going to get wiped off by rushing production. So Taylor is
lucky. He gets to throw 2.
Just say, like, however you want to look at it, you're plus 4 points.
Here's the
Taylor.
rushing leaders.
It's an extra 100 passing yards.
Right. Here's the rushing leaders at the quarterback position for week 1. Russell Wilson, 40 yards. Tyrod Taylor, 38 yards. Then it was Cousins with 30, Mariota with 26, Dak Prescott with 24. Matt Stafford was 10th with 15 yards, and Cam Newton was not on the list. Cam Newton, I believe, rushed the ball. I think he had like either 3 rushes for 6 yards or 6 rushes for 3 yards.
I mean,
it was minimal.
Cam Newton, to his credit, I think that he's being wise in this situation. He knows that he cannot get hit on that shoulder right now because it's going to hurt, and he doesn't want to have any setbacks here. I mean, you got to protect your body.
You saw the impact on Russell Wilson last year when he was hobbled. He couldn't run. He couldn't take chances, and it impacted his fantasy numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is the Bills' defense is not great, so I think the opportunity for Cam to have an okay game the way that he had last week against the 49ers is there. He's an okay start. Definitely not someone I love right now, but you're going to be all right.
Let's talk about a point of concern here for Buffalo. I don't know if you guys already looked at the stats, so if you have not, don't peek. How many times were the Buffalo Bills wide receivers targeted in week number 1?
I already looked.
Do you know the answer to that question?
I do not.
Total targets for the wide receiver position.
Total target. Well, so I'm going to assume low. And
how low can you go?
I would guess, I don't know, 17.
You would be wrong.
Very wrong.
8 times. The fewest in the NFL. 8 targets total. Reminded me of some of these, what was it, the Tennessee Titans a couple of years back when there were Delaney Walker targets and nothing else. That was back when, you had, who am I thinking of on the outside in Tennessee?
What, when Wright was there?
No, when he went to Philly and the name's escaping me.
Green Beckham?
Oh, Green Beckham, yeah. So Buffalo, we can talk all we want about how much we might like Jordan Matthews or Zay Jones or Andre Holmes, who had a touchdown last week. But eight total targets.
Yeah, it's not going to get it done. And
that might get it done to like one player.
And yet, Tyrod Taylor was 14 yards of completion.
It's funny because that's not even receptions. That's just total targets. That's the times. How many dropbacks did he have? And then he looked at wide receivers 8 times.
Charles Clay, baby. Charles Clay.
Charles Clay and the running backs. Those two are where you're going to get the production from the Bills offense.
Unfortunately, Charles Clay is once again banged up, so you need to monitor him this week. But that's the truth. He always is, because I love the upside of Charles Clay. I love the option for you to start him this week. If you were a player that, you had a mediocre tight end performance in week 1, Clay was the pickup.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit. I mean, the Panthers are usually good against the tight end. I mean, when you've got the middle of the field covered with the guys that they've got, Luke Kuechly out there, they know that Charles Clay is important, and they have the guys that can guard him. So I don't love the start of Charles Clay this week, but I do like Charles Clay rest of the season a lot.
All right, Greg.
Are you comfortable rolling out both McCaffrey and Stewart this week? We were last week because it was against San Francisco.
I think the Bills are a shade or 2 above San Francisco. Oof. Sorry, Bills fans.
Oof.
Jonathan Stewart was 5th in the league last week in yards after contact, and if you look at total carries, rushing attempts, he's in that top 10 as well. He had 18 rushing attempts in week 1, and so they've also said they're going to limit the reps for Christian McCaffrey. They don't want to – I think the metaphor was they don't want to take all the wear off the tire, so to speak. So I think you can start both. I really do. And I think McCaffrey, you're looking for him to produce fantasy points in the passing game. 7 targets last week. Are you is there anybody else from this game? Kelvin Benjamin.
I love Kelvin Benjamin in this game.
This is a big bounce back opportunity?
Yeah.
Would you buy him now?
I mean, it's always everything depends on the cost, but if you can get him,
$18. No.
If you can get him, because I mean, you're buying him low. It wasn't a great week in what looked like a fantastic matchup. So
yeah, if you can steal him.
He had one catch last week, 25 yards.
I'm certainly interested if I can get him low.
Yeah, last week he was targeted 5 times. So that's something where, the opportunity was there, the production wasn't. Maybe it's a good buy low. The Cardinals. Oh, the Cardinals. They take on the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, the Cardinals.
Now the Colts are at home, and yet they're 7.5-point dogs in this matchup. It's nice to see somebody else believing in them Cardinals, because these 3 homers here, I don't think we have a bright future.
The over-under is 44?
The over-under is 44.
I'll take the under.
Carson Palmer, Jacoby Brissett, or Tolzien, we don't know yet. And this is going to be the start for Kerwin Williams, but the RBBC of Williams Chris Johnson and Andre Ellington.
That was news, though, that yesterday that Arians came out and said Kerwin Williams will be the starter.
And that Chris Johnson was signed. So Chris Johnson is there.
Third on the depth chart right now.
Yep. Andre Ellington will be utilized in the passing game. Let's talk a little bit about – I think we've already said, like, if you had to start one running back from Arizona, I guess I'll ask you that question. Who would you start?
Kerwin.
Now it would be Kerwin Williams, and he should be okay. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts are one of the best teams to play against.
With the game script, I do expect the Cardinals still to win this game, and which then could limit Andre Ellington as a pass catcher. And you're just looking for and hoping for a rushing touchdown here, and you got to go. The probability is Kerwin Williams.
Frank Gore, Marlon Mack, the backfield in Indianapolis. I know, Mike, yesterday your pump the brakes was the entire Colts offense.
Yep.
Are you holding true to what you said? You're not starting a single player on their entire offense.
I am not.
I am willing to start Dante Moncrief.
Oh,
I know.
How can you start Dante Moncrief? I don't understand.
Here's how
one catch last week.
Fool me once.
Here's
6
how
total receptions for the wide receivers for Indianapolis last week.
Sure. Here's how I could choose to do to start Dante Moncrief. It's a combination of what you saw in Arizona with Detroit last week. Okay, the secondary cornerback for Arizona has been a problem for a while. Justin Bethel is not a great cornerback. He's slowly getting better, but he's still a matchup that you target in fantasy football. I think that will be Dante Moncrief. And you saw when Jacoby Brissett came into the game, oh, lo and behold, Dante Moncrief gets a 50-yard bomb, and it was a good pass and a great reception. I believe that Jacoby Brissett, assuming he's the starter, will be able to, take advantage of the bad matchup for the cornerback with a good wide receiver. So I don't love it. I'm not saying, hey, get your Moncrief in. I'm just saying if you're in a situation where you're choosing between a couple lower guys, I think Moncrief has at least the opportunity to score a touchdown. The Colts are going to score, right? I guess there's no guarantee right now.
The only way I'm playing Moncrief is I know something has happened in my life. I have ingested something poisonous.
Right.
I need to get it out of my body. I need to vomit to save my life.
Right.
I'll plug Moncrief in because that will induce some visceral sickness inside my body, and I'll be safe. So that's the only way I'm doing it.
It feels like we're playing the same clip from last week where Jason said to start Moncrief over Hilton, which by nature you're saying right now. You're saying the only start I'd do is Moncrief. Are we going to waterbet Moncrief Hilton again?
No. I would start Moncrief. Hilton and Moncrief to me are darn near the same.
But what if
because Hilton will be the number one target, but he'll have the better coverage. The number two target will have worse coverage. I mean,
so you're starting Hilton.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the rankings right now that I have, Hilton and Moncrief are lower end flex type of possibilities to plug in. That's how I see it.
More like impossibilities, am I right?
Well, all right. Okay, let's take a break here before we get to the next game. Want to tell everybody a little bit more about Play Draft. You've heard us talk about them forever. They are our studio sponsor, and we play them all the time. We'll do a draft against each other tomorrow. But you hear us talk about draft over at playdraft.com/ballers, and you might want to know, well, what is it? Like, how does it work if you're not familiar? They are drafts that last for just 1 week, and there's no management. You just set it, you forget it. Once you're done drafting, that's it. There's no trades, no waivers. Draft even takes care of last-minute injuries for you. Drafts start like every couple minutes they're starting. I mean, just nonstop. So you can join one right now. The best part, you could play for cold hard cash. Okay, drafts start from just $1. So there's a draft for everyone, and you can win some money. Right now, you will get a free entry into a real money draft when you make your first deposit. Just go to playdraft.com/ballers or take out your your iPhone, your Android, and go to the store and search for draft, and then put in the promo code ballers either way, and join us in a really fun fantasy football game.
All right.
I just want to update the Foot Clan real quick
because
people were asking me. We had talked about we're doing a food bet.
Yeah.
With draft every week, and some were like, well, because the footage was supposed to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
and I was on the clock. It was my turn to eat something gross, so we go out. Andy orders me some what were they?
Garlic mussels.
Garlic mussels. I have a rule that states my food must have between 2 and 4 legs.
Yeah, nothing from the sea for Mike.
Like full on Swanson.
So I knew this was.
So this was a bad choice. And the waitress comes out with the regular lunch. There's no mussels, and I'm
He had been sweating profusely.
I am George Clooney from Perfect Storm, like in the shadows. I have slunk down into the booth, hoping that this will just disappear. Then Andy says, "Well, we're waiting on the mussels," and then her face says, "Oh no, I have forgotten this." And so the mussels don't come, but the payout for the mussels was, an apology, and then she gave us a piece of cake.
Yeah,
Mike, a piece of
I
cake.
feel like I have done my service.
You have not.
To this.
It'll be today.
Here's what I'm saying.
To the team.
Well, here's the thing.
I got you free cake.
You did get me free cake. Since you both lost last week, and normally on a regular week, there's one loser of the competition, and that person eats something terrible.
Trash, because I won one.
Today, here's what's happening. At lunch today, Mike, you are choosing Jason's. Jason, you are choosing Mike's. That is what is happening
Ooh,
today.
I like it.
Okay?
All right.
So you are choosing – you are
Jay,
punishing one another.
Get ready to eat a big old bowl of mac and cheese.
Oh, man, I'm going to put meatballs on your mac and cheese so hard.
All
Mike.
right. Brooks, you need to make sure –
All right, so
don't you?
I'm going to put
here's
meatballs
some-
on your mac and cheese so
Whatever
hard.
you do, don't give me a cheeseburger.
yeah, here's some fantasy football news. You want to hear about fantasy football? Breaking news: Odell Beckham Jr. back at practice today for the first time. Just
Nice.
individual drills right now. He's not going full team, but if he's back at practice, please start this week.
I think he starts.
I've got more breaking news.
Uh-oh.
You know, we joke about Jason being the boom boom kicker of the week, which is on today's show, right? Like the boom boom kicker of the week.
Oh no, we gotta.
Come
There's
on.
only one player in our league of record that just spent $11 on a kicker.
Dang it, I put a bid on him. I
knew
hope
you
no
would.
one saw.
I knew you would.
Jason purchased
You're darn right I
Steven
did.
Gostkowski. What was your bid, Mike?
It was just like $2. I
don't care.
$11 is what Jason just paid for a
Boom,
kicker.
boom. Guess who my boom, boom kicker of the week is, people?
Unbelievable. I bid on him for $0.
Look, my team right now, well, let's talk fantasy. What's the next matchup?
This is fantasy. I'm giving them an insight into our league of record where you value kickers the very most of anybody.
I don't value kickers the very most, but Andy has taught me this over time. When you have to, like what he's doing right now with the David Johnson, sometimes you have to buy yourself weekly wins. You have to go, I need to win this week because I'm in a poor matchup.
$11.
I got him.
Yes, you did.
Was I second highest? All right, let's move on to
Probably.
the matchups.
The Tennessee Titans take on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I was.
Jaguar.
Dang it.
That just means Jason overpaid. $43 point over under. The Jaguars are 2-point underdogs at home. Mariota, Bortles, you've got DeMarco Murray. A lot of people really disappointed in DeMarco Murray in week 1. I've seen DeMarco Murray play for long enough. I'm not going to put him in that. I think they were disappointed because it was the matchup with Oakland. That's why.
Certainly. But the thing is to focus on, Derrick Henry didn't do anything either, and DeMarco Murray got the bulk of the touches. That's the important piece of that puzzle. It sucks you didn't get fantasy output, but Murray is still the guy.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe basically his performance fell into I think only one time last year he had under 50 yards in rushing. So Leonard Fournette had a great week 1, impressive on film and off.
He was a beast.
T.J. Yeldon is practicing in full. Will be back this week. Chris Ivory spelled Fournette last week.
And what was interesting is on quite a few third downs, they put Ivory in to be the pass catcher. I mean, what is the deal with that? If you're gonna have a guy who is maybe the pass catching's a little iffy, just keep Fournette out there.
Right. And you have T.J. Yeldon, who's
Yeldon didn't play week 1.
Well, then
that's
that
what I'm
makes
talking
sense.
about.
Unlike the Titans of the past and unlike the Buffalo Bills of this year, the Titans wide receivers were targeted 29 times, which was number 1 in the league. You saw a number of targets go Corey Davis' way. I think the timetable of Corey Davis's relevance for fantasy was sped up immensely with his week 1 performance. I'm a big Corey Davis fan. I think Corey Davis is going to have a great year. Wide receiver 2 capable year. What about Eric Decker, though, Mike? That was a disappointing performance fantasy-wise in Week 1.
It certainly was. He was getting some targets, some opportunity. It just didn't happen in Week 1. I actually am downgrading all the pass catchers. I buy into Jacksonville's pass defense. And Decker, Matthews, Davis, none of these guys are top options for you. So this isn't like I'm taking advantage of a matchup. I would prefer to bench all of them if I had the firepower on my bench.
Yeah, I agree. It's the combination of good opposing defense, but also you don't usually know where it's going to go anyways. So I think this is a game where DeMarco Murray hopefully rebounds in a big way. I wouldn't want to start a single one of the pass catching options outside of Delaney Walker.
Yep.
Jacksonville forced 3 fumbles last week. You just spoke about their defense. Are you streaming Mariota, and are you playing the Jacksonville defense in this game at home against Tennessee, who can be very high scoring?
Mariota, I think, is an okay stream. Even though you say half of the equation was Jacksonville, but the other half was just you don't know where the ball's going to go to pick. Is it going to be Decker or Rashard Matthews or Corey Davis or Taywan Taylor? They have so many good options there. But, similar to like with the Patriots, when we go, we're not sure if it's going to be Chris Hogan this week or if it's going to be – but Tom Brady usually is going to be okay. And I think this is one of those things where Mariota, his combination of being a dual threat, will allow him to be safe. I don't have him as, a top 5 guy this week because of the defense, but if you're streaming an option, I think he's much safer than Andy Dalton this week playing against a difficult matchup.
The problem for the Jaguars, all those sacks, the offensive line for Houston was an abomination. I'm talking about Week 1 when I was watching what was happening. It was a disaster for both Savage and Watson. Pressure immediately. Calais Campbell was
4 sacks.
Was dominant. But my point on that is the Titans, much better offensive line. So I don't expect that kind of a defensive performance again from the Jags.
I had to choose between Marquise Lee and Allen Hurns to sign as a flyer, and I chose Marquise Lee this week.
Yeah, Lee is the play for this particular matchup.
The Eagles take on the Chiefs this week. You have Carson Wentz facing off against Alex Smith, the #1 fantasy football quarterback. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites at Arrowhead, 47.5-point over-under. You're looking at some opportunity here for both offenses. I think you're going to see, it'll be neat to see what Kareem Hunt can do in his second week. He put up a performance that was nearly double any other fantasy running back in Week 1.
So I want to preface this, Foot Clan. Prepare for a bit of a letdown because he's not going to get you 50 fantasy points this week.
No. But what does he do this week against that Eagles defense?
I think he is a great start. He's going to be in my running back 1 top 12 rankings if he's playing. He's a great running back, great opportunity. And you saw this, all his production to him, he played, I believe, around 57% of the snaps. So he can do even more once he's building up the rapport and Andy Reid has full comfort in leaving him in on third downs. So Kareem Hunt is every week. He's already an every week starter for me.
For a lot of people where they got Kareem Hunt, though, they are going to have to make a decision. Like, would you play Kareem Hunt or would you rather play Ty Montgomery against Atlanta? Because those are scenarios that could happen.
Yeah, I think that's
a fair point.
A really good comparison. I would still lean Kareem Hunt
I would too.
By a hair. And the reality is if you've got both those guys, get one in your flex. You're playing both of those. I have both as a top 10 option for this week. But that being said, I do think that the Eagles' defense is underrated. I don't think they get enough credit right now, compared to, say, Jacksonville. And it's like, their defense is awesome. I think the Eagles are a great normal streaming.
They're not a
play.
pushover. That's for sure.
I like the opportunity that Alshon Jeffrey has in this game. I nearly made him my start of the week. Marcus Peters does not shadow, so you're going to be able to put Alshon Jeffrey in positions to succeed. And I think with what we've seen from Carson Wentz, this could be an Alshon Jeffrey game. You had the kind of breakaway broken play for Aguilar last week that I don't think anybody expects to happen repeatedly. I would expect Alshon Jeffrey to have a better week too. What do you do with the running back situation in Philadelphia? Is it hands off?
Yep.
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right.
Aguilar, I think I had mentioned, that because Marcus Peters was there and Alshon's there number one, that maybe Aguilar would be a better second option. But Phillip Gaines is there. That's who he's going to be running into. So I'm kind of tempering my expectations on Aguilar for this week as well.
New England travels to New Orleans.
Whee!
That's the expectation. 56-point over-under, 6.5-point underdogs. The Saints are 6.5-point underdogs. I think this is obviously a game where Tom Brady gets the opportunity to bounce back. I think James White has a great game. I think you see Brandon Cooks exacting some revenge on Sean Payton, and unfortunately against me in our league of record. What are some sneaky plays from a game that should have some sneaky plays? You saw Tommy Lee Lewis targeted on a couple deep balls last week by Drew Brees, so there has to be some sneaky plays.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Lewis is the sneakiest of smarts.
I think he's a great DFS
that's
start.
That's the only kind of sneaky start he is.
Yeah, because the problem is you don't want to pick him up and take a roster spot because
thanks.
he might be
You're hoping
okay
for
this week. But
1 for 50. For
right,
him.
exactly. I would much rather pick up and play and have Chris Hogan, who people are disappointed with after week one. But the reality was he had down-the-field targets that just didn't connect, and now he's got a great matchup where the Saints are going to be able to score at home against the Patriots. And so then the Patriots are going to be able to score against the New Orleans Saints. You see, this is a great thing for fantasy football. So I think Chris Hogan I think Chris Hogan gets a touchdown this week. I've got him decently high in my rankings. He is the sneaky start.
Who's going to score again?
Chris Hogan.
Oh, okay.
What'd I say?
Well, you were saying the Patriots are going to score on the Saints. The Saints are going to score on the Patriots.
Yeah. Everybody is getting touchdowns.
Kobe Fleener.
I like Kobe Fleener a lot. I mean, he's a fine play.
Adrian Peterson.
No.
Actually,
if you're looking for rushing touchdowns from Adrian Peterson, maybe you get it, but no.
I think you're going to see double. I'm going to predict it right now. Going on record. I think you're going to see double the snaps that Peterson had last week.
So he's going to play 10 snaps.
That's not true. He had more than that.
12 snaps.
I think
you'll see 16 to 20.
Another sneaky play could be Alvin Kamara, especially if they get down at home. You saw the usage. He was in on second downs. He was used in passing situations. I'm excited. He's another one of those guys that I could have answered the quick question with, who are you wanting to pay attention to? Because this is an opportunity to succeed as opposed to on the road in Minnesota.
Danny Amendola. Listed now with a knee injury on top of his concussion.
Come on, man.
So this is why we like Chris Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, this is not unexpected from Amendola. But honestly, if Amendola is cleared and he plays,
you put him in.
I will put him in my lineup.
Even if you get a half out of him.
Yeah. I will play
Which
him.
you will. You'll get one half, but it'll be productive.
The Minnesota Vikings, fresh off of their impressive offensive performance, take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, fresh off their disappointing offensive performance. The Steelers are 6-point favorites at home in this game, 45.5-point over-under. Vegas is siding with the rusty side of the Pittsburgh Steelers as opposed to any sort of trend. Bradford had a monster week. Big Ben got it done in the second half of that matchup. Dalvin Cook, Lev Bell. Lev Bell certainly a disappointment in week one. Mike's talked a lot about him having no camp, no opportunity to kind of shake the rust off, but maybe Cleveland just has a very good rushing D. The thing is, the Vikings have a pretty good rushing D as well. Lev Bell, what's the ceiling this week? Is he going to be in your top 5?
Yeah, he'll be in my top 5, but I don't this will be like one of those weird weeks where he won't be my number one guy. He is right now, but I'm already evaluating that situation. But he'll still be in the top 5. Oh, jeez, that freaked me out.
Breaking news.
That really startled me.
I know.
We saw.
I tried to guess the pause, and you were not pausing, but I hit the button anyway. Danny Woodhead has been added to IR. So the earliest he can return is week 11. Jeremy Langford has been called up to the active roster. So Langford now joining the Buck Allen, Terrence West rotation. Mike,
striking.
Good luck
fear
getting
into-
back into your thought after that.
What? Where am I?
What were you talking
Who
about
are
there?
you people?
All right. So
I don't even know, man. I don't even know.
Where am I?
Sam Bradford is another interesting guy. You know, was the Sam Bradford we saw week 1 against the bad New Orleans Saints offense legit, or defense is he legit? Did he level up on the road? This whole Minnesota offense, Diggs, Thielen, Cooks, and Bradford, I want to see them on the road against a difficult team and see if that can help. That's you know, are they good enough as a team to be able to succeed?
I think
Andy,
they
can
are.
we get an almost upset here? Is this no?
No, I don't believe in that. I think Pittsburgh takes care of Minnesota at home. Yeah, I think the Steelers' defense is underrated. I think that you're going to see
Would you start
a very
the
difficult
Steelers,
environment.
asking for a friend, would you start the Steelers' defense against what you saw last week and the new Dalvin Cook Minnesota Vikings?
I'd like another option. I'd much rather
Yes,
start
I
somebody
agree.
like Tampa against Chicago this week,
Agreed.
even though you know Chicago didn't perform or didn't produce fantasy points for Atlanta's defense last week. I am starting Diggs and Thielen. I think those are great options. Both finished in the top 5 in fantasy points last week, so until further notice, I think you can count on the targets and the receptions there. Antonio Brown's a lock. Let's talk about Martavis Bryant because I
Plug
think
him in.
you're saying plug
Him in.
at
I
home.
get it. It's the Vikings have a good defense, and they held Ted Ginn in check for the most part. Martavis Bryant if there's ever a time to play him, you play him at home.
What if he duds in this game? What is your thought then? You got the first 2 games out of the gate. It's kind of
It's gonna feel really, really bad, and perhaps you want to bench him until you see him. Like you talk about rust for Le'Veon Bell. Martavis Bryant hasn't played football in years, so
I got so much flack for being low on Martavis Bryant that I had to go to the judge, and I'm telling you, you're going to want to sit Martavis Bryant this week.
There's no way.
well,
There's no way.
you two need to figure out a water bet right here, right now, based on that.
All right.
Just
What
some
is it,
sort
top
of
15?
fantasy point threshold.
You're saying don't.
Top 20?
You're saying don't play him.
Top okay.
24, top 24.
I'll take a top 24.
Let's do it.
Waterbet.
I mean, the fact is, though, if you're saying don't play someone, that means they're not even in your top 36.
Top 24 water bet, Mike. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm confident enough.
Because I am courageous. I am not the coward over there saying bench a guy. And
I would be very cautious
I bet he doesn't
about,
finish on the top 15.
I say don't take a week 1 victory lap on Martavis Bryant. But you did make a bold call this week. You said sit him down at home.
Trey Waynes is going to be fun for him.
3 butt catches this week from Martavis
That's
Bryant.
the prediction. 3 butt catches.
No hands, just butt cheeks.
I understand that's why they're bringing Gary Barnidge back in Houston. They want to improve their butt catches per game statistic. They're very into metrics over there. The Bears.
Yeah, he's good. How's his butt?
Yeah. It's your
this-
area of expertise
is
with
this
these
strong?
players. Bears, Buccaneers. Bucks finally get to play in 2017. 7-point favorites at home. 43.5 point over under. I think that's right. I'm not expecting. I would actually take the under in this matchup. I think you're just going to see some of the things you see in the beginning of a year. First game for Deshaun Jackson in this offense. Opportunity for Jaquiz Rodgers getting the start. Do you start Jaquiz Rodgers against this Bears defense at home?
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I do. I would have him as a top 24 option.
Brooks is
so I
nodding. He would
plug him
start
in.
Jaquiz.
I think Brooks has to.
Is that just?
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Are you starting him in one of your leagues, Brooks?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You do get the
I didn't know you had him.
advantage. You do get the advantage here too of coming off of training camp, having that week 1 bye. It's a really weird thing, and they'll have a disadvantage as time goes on. But they've got now 2 weeks to prepare for the Bears, and while the Bears have to shift gears and for the first time prepare inside of a week. So I think there is some advantage there to the Buccaneers offense.
Now, Jordan Howard was added to the injury report on Wednesday. It's a shoulder. He was a limited participant. Do we have any hesitation? Andy is frowning like he had not heard that yet.
I'm just frowning that I didn't spend more money on Tariq Cohen based on that news.
I think that
I don't have any concern.
Yeah, he's going to play, but yeah, Cohen is a very interesting player to watch especially this week.
That's why he's on that list for me. I just want to see what the involvement is and how much they have to use him because they don't have other options. They have Kendall Wright and Josh Bellamy, and my start of the week, Zach Miller.
Oh, the Buccaneers.
Spoiler.
The Buccaneers. Look, they have a strong front seven. They have good linebackers, so it won't be as easy.
And it won't be up the
Cohen.
middle for Cohen. That's the thing. It's going to be Mike Glennon freaking out and finding Cohen underneath.
Yeah, which
he's going to do. And the thing is,
he's going to freak out. That's for sure.
The thing is Cohen is and has been a big play guy, whether in preseason or the first game of the regular season. He is that Darren Sproles. It only takes one play to make him fantasy relevant for that week. So I'm very excited to see this matchup. You're starting Mike Evans. I don't know if there's anybody else to talk about. Is there a tight end on the Buccaneers side?
I would be willing to start Cameron Brate.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't.
Remember how open Austin Hooper was?
One time.
Yeah.
It only took one.
Only 2 targets. So
right, but
Brate is used.
Jameis Winston targets Cameron Brate far more than Matt Ryan has.
But O.J. Howard is going to get targets too.
He's also going to block more than Cameron Brate. Just saying, the guy coming off of a great year.
That puts him top 12. I mean, you're saying you're willing to start him. That means you're willing to go. You're basically saying, I'm going to start Cameron Brate over all of these week 1 flashes, whether it's a Cook, whether it's Zach Miller in the same game. Are you willing to start him over Zach Miller?
Ooh, maybe. That's an eval. Stay tuned to the rankings, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, it's time for our starts for this week, too.
Starts of the week.
All right, you want to start at the quarterback position?
Sure.
All right, Mike, why don't you kick it off?
I'm scrolling down. All right, this one I'm not going to overthink it. My start of the week, I'm sending in the car.
Sitting in the car.
Jets, Derek Carr.
Send in the car. Send in the car.
Because he's going to put up points. I mean, they were very impressive, and what was even more impressive for me was that the Raiders' defense was actually competent, unlike what they were for the majority of last season. So this is just putting that confidence on Derek Carr. I expect at least 2 touchdowns. So top 12 quarterback easy.
It was interesting. They passed the ball on 50% of their first downs in week 1.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense, and they're trying to get Amari Cooper even more involved. And once Amari Cooper really unleashes, then really big things can happen for Carr.
It's actually funny that the top 5 teams that passed the most on first down was Derek Carr, Trevor Siemian, Alex Smith, Sam Bradford, and Carson Wentz.
Just what I would expect.
Well, the point is they all won. The top 5 teams, the highest percentage of
very interesting
of passing on first down, all won.
It's almost like passing is more valuable than running
in
today's NFL.
That's a ridiculous conclusion based on that information. Russell Wilson is my start of the week.
Russell Wilson.
Look, you drafted him to start him, but week 1 might have gotten you a little worried, and I want to give you the comfort of a home matchup for Seattle. I think Russell Wilson takes care of business, and I'm not worried about him whatsoever. So I think you start him with confidence. Don't overthink it. Don't try to stream Alex Smith over him. Don't go grab Trevor Siemian over him. Don't be cute. Just play Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stick to a very similar line. I don't think the Bears are great. By any means, and I think Jameis Winston, we just talked about that. He's got the extra week to prepare. I think he has the weapons. We kind of forget about Jameis because he had that week 1 bye, but you've got Deshaun Jackson. You got O.J. Howard you brought up. Cameron Brate was good last year. You got Mike Evans. This is an offense that should be able to score, including Jaquiz Rodgers being able to catch the ball. So Jameis Winston, if I've got him, I'm starting him. I don't think he'll be a top 5 quarterback, but he's certainly going to be a startable quality option this week.
All right, let's move over to the running back position. I'll kick it off. I've got Ty Montgomery. Get him in your lineup. This means making a decision for many of you because of where you got Ty Montgomery to if you're faced with that decision of putting him in as that running back 2 over a lot of other options. I think Ty Montgomery has an absolute monster week. The carry totals were there. He had his most career touches last week that he's had ever since he came into the NFL. He looked the part. Jamal Williams only had, I believe, 2 touches in this game. So I think Ty Montgomery is quickly moving up my board in terms of elite running back options. Start him with a smile.
Yeah, full confidence on Ty
Smiles
Montgomery.
are free.
I love the idea of starting Ty Montgomery, but I'm going to pick an old man who I'd start over Ty Montgomery.
What?
Yes, he is
Frank Gore?
Well, don't you put that evil on me. No, I'm talking about
him over Ty Montgomery.
Well, I'm talking about my number 5 ranked running back this week, and that is
Frank Gore?
Marshawn Lynch. Look, Marshawn Lynch looked good last week. His fantasy day was nothing, overtly special. But when you watch the film, how did Marshawn look to you guys?
He looked outstanding.
I mean, he looked like the old Marshawn. He's got the great offensive line. They are at home. They are 14-point favorites against the Jets. I'm calling for the double touchdown from Marshawn Lynch this week.
Love it.
I think a touchdown is a virtual guarantee. He is a must-start against the Jets at home, and that says nothing. Like, I am not buying into the narrative thing. That's all based on what I just said. However, there is still the narrative. This is his first Oakland Raider home game.
We're going to this way.
No, when I looked and made this start of the week, it was based on the fact that Oakland has the highest expected point total from Vegas for a home team. And I'm like, well, I love running backs in a plus home situation. Oh, now I see why, because it's the Jets. You're going to be able to score. And then after all that, it dawned on me. I was like, oh, my goodness, this is beast mode at Oakland for the first real time.
For a team that passed 50% on first down, a down in which Marshawn Lynch always owned in Seattle, he still had 18 carries in week 1. So that's impressive to me. 18 carries in a game you were winning, or that was competitive, and a team that passed 50% on first down. Very impressed with Marshawn Lynch. I love that start this week. Mike, who's your running back start of the week?
My running back start of the week, James White. I love the matchup. You get the Patriots in a high-scoring game with the Saints. Last week, James White had a near 14% target share. I mean, he was identical with Chris Hogan. I mean, he's going to get targets. And here was the interesting thing. He had 33% of the carries, of the running back carries. I mean, that's not what you expected when James White started the season. It looks like the Patriots are going to roll with Gillislee and James White, and Burkhead's just going to every once in a while happen to get on and get a snap or two. But White and Gillislee are going to be the predominant running backs, and I want a piece of that action. So I'm very confident in playing James White.
The way you're
week.
talking about James White seems to extend beyond this week.
That is very correct.
Okay. Mike, why don't you give us your wide receiver
I'm
start of the
double
week?
up.
Yeah, you're doubling
like
up.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yep.
Kelvin Benjamin. I liked his matchup as well. He should see E.J. Gaines. He got banged up last week. But here's the thing. Kelvin Benjamin has a 6-inch, 50-pound advantage if E.J. Gaines is the one who is predominantly covering him. And
that's nice.
And look, Kelvin Benjamin is not a separation guy. He is a contested catch guy, out-bodying people. And he can certainly out-body E.J. Gaines. I expect a bounce-back game, and I like Kelvin Benjamin this week.
I'm stacking it up. Russell Wilson, he disappointed you week 1. So did Doug Baldwin, who basically was non-existent in that matchup. It all gets right this week. Don't fear. Go start Doug Baldwin. I think at home, Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, big weeks. Doug Baldwin, my start of the week.
Doug Baldwin is another guy, if you're unaware, that has much better home road splits, so he's coming home. I'm going to go with Jeremy Maclin. You know, I talked about the Joe Flacco home road splits. I don't expect there to be a ton of volume, but I'm making him my start not as one of those absolute must starts, but he's going to be one of those questionable guys this week where a lot of people are going, do I start him or another guy? And I think you're going to get production from Jeremy Maclin. I think he will be the #1 wide receiver option at home for Joe Flacco. I'm confident to start him.
I feel like because of the way you qualified that, I'm going to need to put you on the spot and give you some start-sit questions for Jeremy Maclin real quick. Would you start Kelvin Benjamin or Jeremy Maclin?
I would start Jeremy Maclin.
Would you start?
No, I would not. I would start Kelvin. I wanted to go Maclin, but it's just not the truth.
Jeremy Maclin or Devontae Adams?
Devontae Adams. He was almost my start of the week. In fact, I'm telling you, if you're out there and you're worried, I had a close friend who was benching Devontae Adams. I think that's a mistake.
Jeremy Maclin or Adam Thielen?
I would go Jeremy Maclin.
Jeremy Maclin or Jarvis Landry?
I would go Jeremy Maclin.
Okay. I already gave you mine. Jason, you went with Maclin. Why don't you give us your tight end?
Yeah, my tight end is Zach Ertz. He's my guy this year. He was great week 1, the clear number.
Love that target share.
The clear number 1 target for Carson Wentz. And you might be looking at Kansas City and thinking that's a really tough matchup. They've been good against tight end for a while.
Shut down Gronk week 1.
Gronk, but
yeah,
the reason they shut down Gronk was because they have an incredible player in the middle of the field who tore his Achilles and is out. So now they have a hole right there where the targets are going to go. I think Zach Ertz is safe. Start him, plug him in.
Don't do it, Andy.
What
You'll be happy.
They have a hole at the.
Don't do it,
like
Andy.
Tight end.
Yeah.
All right. Zach Miller, my start of the week at the tight end position. He was second in targets last week. Kevin White's gone for the year. I've already illustrated the delightful situation Mike Glennon finds himself in with Kendall Wright and Josh Bellamy as pass-catching options. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zach Miller, Tariq Cohen lead the league or lead his team in targets. So Zach Miller, I think, is a very safe play. I've made the decision to sign him and start him over Austin Hooper and Evan Ingram in our League of Record.
It's a good choice.
And so, Jason, you went with Ertz. I said Zach Miller. It's the double Zach. Is there a Zach left over for you, Mike?
Nope.
Zachary Fleener, maybe?
I'm going to let it ride, baby. Colby Fleener. He's at home. Willie Snead.
You actually have that as a note. Let it ride with an exclamation point.
Willie Snead is still out, and you may not want to hear this. He played pretty well last week. I know that the touchdown was garbage time, but there could be some garbage time in this one as well. But he looked solid, and so we've known from Jason explained this in his ridiculously bold hot take on our hot take show that Colby Fleener could be a top 5. It takes tight ends some time to acclimate to this system. So I'm going to ride Colby Fleener out until he lets me down, and that's why he's my start of the week.
All right. You want to run back those start of the weeks real quick?
So we got Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Ty Montgomery, Marshawn, James White, Doug Baldwin, Brandon Cooks, Kelvin Benjamin, and Zach Miller, Zach Ertz, Colby Fleener.
Oh, that was Jeremy Maclin instead of Brandon Cooks.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jason,
Yeah,
you didn't want to bring him up?
Well, yeah, I forgot to bring him up because Brandon Cooks, look, you're going to start him.
Nobody's not starting Brandon
That's
Cooks.
why I didn't bring him up. He's an obvious start of the week, but he going to start hard. He going to be good. I've got him as my number 2 wide receiver this week. He's playing in New England or in New Orleans where he is used to playing. There's huge over-under. We've seen him disappear in games like that before, to be sure. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that New England needs him in order to succeed.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
Do I need to add $11 to that?
Oh, you saying I put my money where my mouth is. And
I was really hoping that
he snuck through because
Yeah.
you don't even have a kicker. You dropped them to pick someone up. I noticed that, and it was for that reason. I knew that. And when I told you that yesterday and I mentioned that I knew you didn't have a kicker, that's why I had to pay up because I went, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Because now you knew that I
told
knew
on
that
yourself.
you needed a kicker. So I'm going with Steven Gostkowski as my start of the week. Or as my, ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed, boom, boom, kicker of the week. There's just too many points. It's indoor. There will be opportunities, plenty of extra points, some field goals.
No, you don't need to explain yourself. You just have to pick somebody.
Gostkowski.
yeah, you're giving this segment too much credibility.
All right, last week, Matt Bryant. That worked out.
Hey, roll him again this week.
Roll him again.
is going to be good.
That is it for today's episode. We'll be back with the rest of the matchups tomorrow. And make sure you keep it right here. Check out jointhefoot.com. Become a part of our fantasy football community. Thank you to everybody who listens to this show, supports this show. We appreciate everybody who sends in questions for the mailbag. We know we can't get to every single one of them, but I promise you we get to as many as we can. We're always trying to take care of our listeners. An example of that would be Sunday morning. Mike hops on a Periscope with everybody, answers as many questions as he can, and occasionally he will do his hair beforehand. Most of the time he will not.
That's false. I'm always looking good.
Well, that's not the same as doing your hair.
Even when my hair is not done, it's still done.
I like it.
Yeah, you've pulled off the whatever I'm wearing is what I'm wearing life goal.
I chose this.
If you're going to play some DFS, check out playdraft.com/ballers.
Ballers.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.